I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings.
Dude, that's pretty cool.
Man, that is a sad clown.
Dude, that's pretty good.
This is The Gloom, bringing you weekly interviews with F3 Omaha PACs, exploring their F3 experiences and finding those sticky elements that create the glue in the gloom.
Shout out to our sponsors. Major Team Mortgage, Omaha Laser Dentistry, Exclusively Eye Care, Liberty Core Real Estate, Avier Wealth Management, and Apex Men's Clinic. We appreciate their support.
What's it like to love your dentist? Well, you're about to find out, where healthy smiles go beyond your teeth. No drilling, no needles, and no anxiety. Relax, it's Omaha Laser Dentistry. Welcome to better. At Omaha Laser Dentistry, Dr. Bullenparty uses the Solea laser, a CO2 laser that's used in all of his day-to-day patient care. He provides thorough exams, assessments, and treatments for things like snoring, tethered tissue, and extractions like wisdom teeth, as well as other surgeries. Check him out today at omahalaserdentistry.com. Discounts may be available for F3 Omaha members.
Now let's get back to the gloom.
And we're back. The word that comes to mind with this guy here is snap. Just thinking about the fun times that we've had in the gloom. I remember some really good pre-runs talking through just life. I think when he took the shovel flag pass last year was going through some stuff with work and was vulnerable and shared what was on his heart. I just appreciate that about this guy. And G-String, it's good to see you. You look good. He's in his bathroom, folks, but he's not on the toilet. So
not using it. Yes.
Yeah. But man, why don't you just start us off from the beginning? Who EH'd you and tell us about the first workout?
Okay. Yeah. I am sitting in my bathroom. It's one of my hobbies. It's not sitting in the bathroom, but my renovation projects we've got at the house. So thanks for having me. This is exciting. I'm a little nervous because I don't feel like I have a whole lot of cool stuff to say, but maybe that's just my imposter syndrome coming in.
Yeah.
But yeah, EH journey, I guess. The first time I guess I heard of F3 was out at the lake with Baby Shark. He is my wife's cousin he's married to my wife's cousin, so
okay.
we're like family, right? And they spend a lot of time out at my mother-in-law's lake in Valley, or her house on the lake in Valley. And actually I give credit to his wife Michelle personally, because I was standing by her when she was like, you should really go work out with these guys. They're like flipping tires and doing burpees in the rain, and it's like pretty badass stuff. And I'm like, that's exactly what I want to do right now. So yeah, it sounds amazing. So I texted him. I think that was actually it was probably last summer they were out, or 2 summers ago. And I texted him. I was like, hey, what's this workout group? And then he said, come to the sanitarium, or come to Papillion La Vista High School on Tuesday morning. So I was like, sure, I'll be there. And then he said 5:30 start. And I'm like, that's early, but sounds great. So I showed up, and I just remember it like it was yesterday. It was like super windy, and I was confused because there was a bunch of guys giving fist bumps, and once it started, like it was JC, Jean-Claude was on the cue. And he comes out like just a blazing, like, welcome to F3, like screaming, and you find yourself at sanitarium. And I'm like, what is this? Like, Baby Shark did not tell me anything about this.
Was Baby Shark there? Was he there for that first one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was there.
Okay.
And because they started calling him Baby Shark, and he never told me that he was Baby Shark. And so I'm like, whatever. And then kind of during the workout, I held with the group. We were doing, I think it's called the Spartan, which is like you sprint 100 yards, do like 15 Merkins, and then sprint back, and then like you might rest for 30 seconds. And so we just did that like for 30 times back and forth. And I was gassed, and it was windy, and yeah, I just remember like people were asking me questions during the workout, like, "Oh, what's your name? We brought you out," but everybody else was pretty winded too, so there wasn't really a whole lot of talking.
Yeah.
And at the end, they were like, "Come on over and tell us about yourself." And I was shelling out like, "I'm a gardener. I'm a Broncos fan. I love the Cubs. Um, my name's Grady with a G." And then Duracell was like, "G-string." And I kept chatting just a little bit longer, than John Claude was just stuck on that. So he was like, "You're a G-string." And turns out I think Duracell was trying to name somebody G-string for a few months. So finally, a guy with a name that starts with a G comes along, and that was me. So yeah.
That's funny. And you've adjusted now, right? Now it's like it's fully taken on. You got a coupon and everything, right?
The sexiest coupon in F3 Omaha.
Yeah.
Kudos. That was when I got that. I actually don't think I deserved it. I think Skids spotted me for that, because I told Huffy, I was like, "Hey, I want one, but I don't think I can afford it right now," because he wants like a nice bottle of whiskey.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, I'll see you tomorrow. I already did it." I'm like, "Oh crap, okay." So
Nice.
thanks to, I think it was Skids, and if it wasn't, I apologize. But yeah, I got the coupon, which fit well for my site. And
yeah, that's perfect. So tell us a little bit, kind of your fitness journey, kind of physical fitness. Were you working out before? Have you been an active guy kind of your whole life? I mean, you seem pretty fit to me, but what's been your journey there?
So I was working out before. So I joined, gosh, what was it, 2 years ago? And I'm pretty consistent. I'm fortunate to like just stay around 185, 200 pounds, right in that range. And I have a bad diet. I'll eat all the crap I can and want, and I can't get over 200 pounds, which sounds pathetic, right? But I guess I was gifted with that. And so yeah, I worked out quite a bit, but not like outside cardio stuff. I was more so just doing dumbbell things in my basement. My wife and I, we had the Peloton app, so we were doing like the rower, some calisthenics, of things like that. But growing up, always active. I played all the sports I could. I remember my parents held me off sports for a while. I don't know why, but basketball, my first year of basketball was second grade, and I thought I was like the best player ever. I just loved it, right? Just anytime I could get to a game, I was there. I couldn't play football until sixth grade, and I had a paper route as a kid, and I'd like just sprinted my paper route. Like nice. I would act like it was football, was like running my routes and things like that. And so yeah, I did basketball, football, and then I played baseball up until about eighth grade, and soccer up until about eighth grade. And then at that point, you kind of got to choose like the three sports, right? So I did track instead, just to stay in shape. And football players often do just track or wrestling or something like that, just out of season, and it worked out well. I was pretty good at track. I did qualify at state, got a medal.
Nice.
And yeah, those glory days are over, and I still think I'm fast. I tried, but
yeah, age catches up with you. Where'd you go to high school at? Are you from Omaha or Sarpy?
Yeah, Ralston okay. Ram.
Nice.
So when we started the Rampage, I was pretty stoked about that.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I've got some buddies that went to Ralston. I don't know if they've been out yet, but I don't know, you may know Steve Kwasniewski. Did that name ring a bell?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know Steve.
Played baseball with him.
He was, I mean, we can talk about Steve for a while, but he was, he's an athlete if he wanted to be.
Yeah.
I just don't think he applied himself very much in high
Yeah,
school.
for sure.
Yeah.
So did you play football, do football and track, or you just focused in on track?
No, I did football and track and basketball. Went to, like I said, went to state and track, and then basketball was probably my favorite sport. Unfortunately, I just wasn't as good at it.
Yeah.
So when I got to college, I missed the competitive sports, and I walked on football at UNO
Nice.
and realized that football in college was not nearly as fun as football in high school.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you mentioned when you got EH that you were like maybe looking for something like F3, or what do you think was going on in life that got you to the point where you're like, okay, yeah, I'm willing to get up at 5:30 and go try this?
Mm. I think it was probably because coming off of COVID, all we did was work out in our basements,
Mm-hmm.
and um, I had no idea about the fellowship aspect nor the faith. To be honest with you, it was like like people always say, I just kind of came for the fitness, and
Yeah.
I think once I showed up that first day, I don't feel like I missed a day after that. Like I always try to go, which probably gets me in trouble most
Yeah.
times, more times than not.
For sure. Do you remember? So did you go the next day? You went to a danger zone on
Yeah.
Wednesday, so you were right away?
No, actually, good segue. My second day was the Mount Olympus launch.
Oh, wow.
So when I showed up at Mount Olympus, again, super confused, like, what is this? Like, this is a new thing.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, Fun Dip had a lot of excitement, and there's a lot of people there, obviously, for the launch. So, yeah, between the EH day on Tuesday, getting my name, and then the launch of Mount Olympus on Wednesday, I was like, I'm in. This is pretty sweet.
Yeah. What did you think of the coupons? Was that kind of weird, or were you like, this is cool, or had you done anything like that before?
Yeah, that's what I loved. Yeah. Because she told me, she's like, yeah, they flip tires and lift concrete blocks. And I was kind of like wanting to get into CrossFit, which probably offends CrossFitters, right? But
Yeah.
because this isn't really CrossFit, but I was always thinking I would be somewhat okay at that sport. So this was a good challenge for me to just test out different physical fitness levels.
Yeah. Well, and how about like pre-running and pre-rucking, and how long did it take before you figured that out?
I don't think I got into pre stuff for probably a good year.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never really thought of myself as a big runner, like distance wise, and so I think I did my half marathon. My first half was in the first year I joined F3, so this was a good like I trained somewhat for that, and then once I took the flag at Mount Olympus, I think that was when I was like, I didn't miss any pre things for that site. I was always there for the pre runs or the pre rucks. And so, yeah, that's when I just kicked it in full gear. And I like to do all that stuff now. I actually feel like I miss out too much if I don't do the pre thing.
Yeah. Well, so pretty quickly, it sounds like you got into all of the different things, right? Because then then did you go to Steel Mill on Thursday then? Like, was that so you did
I think I did.
Okay.
I think I did go to Steel Mill. Yeah, because I was like, I don't know that I brought my weights. I might have brought my weights because I was just experiencing, like you said, all the different things, the different types of sites,
Yeah.
and I was probably a little nervous to go to Sandlot, being that it was right next door, but it was a running site.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I can't go run 5 miles with these guys yet.
Right. Well, that's pretty cool. And I guess where do you think you're at from a just overall physical fitness, physical health standpoint? You feel like have you gotten stronger, faster? How do you feel in that aspect?
I've definitely slimmed down the waistline quite a bit. Gotten better muscle, I would say. I don't know if I'm faster, but I can run a lot farther.
Mm.
Aside, injuries is set aside, right? Like if I'm battling something like which I'm doing right now, my foot. But yeah, when I'm in a good position to run, I like to put it on and run a good distance.
Yeah.
And these guys are probably going to listen to this and be like, Greg's not a runner. Like, but 6 miles in the morning, you go to work and tell somebody that and they're like, what?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Even 3 miles, right? Most people aren't out there running 3 miles and then doing a
Right.
workout. That's not, that's not normal, even though it is for us. I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, trying to get guys to do a pre 10K. And I was like, I guess we could just do a standard 5K pre-run,
Yeah.
which is, yeah. What are you battling now? You hurt your foot?
I think I always pick like Icy Hot and retweets brains a little bit when I'm with them. But so shout out to those guys because they're providing me free advice. But yeah, I think I have plantar fasciitis in my right foot.
Ooh.
I've got some pain throughout the day and when I wake up and just all the symptoms. So I'm doing some stretching and icing and
Yeah.
of course the Murph challenge starts now and I can't say no. So yeah.
For sure. Well, I love it. And I think it's cool that you got hooked so early on, right? And I don't know if, I mean, talk us through when you think about the second half, that fellowship piece. Did that play a part? Or did you know other guys? Or, I mean, how did you go about kind of building some of those relationships or getting to know the guys?
There's very few guys that I know in F3 that I knew before F3. I think I'd say like Lot Lizard is my only like good childhood. We met in high school, but like my good friend prior to F3. But as far as like the growth in fellowship, like hundreds of guys that I can now reach out to, right? And it's funny because my wife and I will go to just random events for the kids and I think you said on a recent episode, you just run into people and you're like, you end up talking for too long. And then you try to introduce each other and you're like, your name is, Scott Yarpy. Oh, yeah. Okay. Stranglehold and I ran into each other and he didn't want to say my name in front of his daughters, but yeah.
Yeah, that is funny. That's funny. Yeah, and depending on the guy's nickname, right? Some of them are more appropriate than others. I one of my buddies was like, you're like really close to all these guys, but you don't know their real names, and I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, I kind of like I could get their real name pretty quickly now with PaxNet, right? I could figure out your real name.
Yep. Very true.
It's happened a ton, but. I'm curious when you think about, some of the camaraderie that occurs during the workout, like how do you go about like engaging in that? Because I think a lot of guys will show up and they feel like, oh, these guys all know each other, or they're all best friends. But like kind of give us that new guy perspective. How did you sort of insert yourself in that scene?
Well, I think that's actually what's pretty contagious about this group being so open to welcoming new guys. And I can remember a few that were like, they really leaned in, and started asking questions and I'll answer any questions, but I'm not very good about talking about myself. And so my form of communication, I feel like, is more, I want to know more about you, and then maybe we can relate. And so conversely, I'm just constantly asking questions back, right? And I think that's how a lot of my relationships have grown to where they are. Just hearing people out and really getting to know them better just allows me to somewhat relate. And I was thinking about that. I'm not good about, and I try to consciously say to myself, like, most times the conversation shouldn't be reversed back to me unless they want it to. And if I'm in a conversation with somebody and they say something and I instantly am saying, I did this, or yeah, my wife and I were doing that, it just kind of takes away from what they were trying to say. And so I don't know. Sometimes I struggle with the words if it's early in the morning, honestly. And somebody wants to chat, I'll chat. But otherwise, I'm usually trying to ask questions.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. And I think maybe something you're touching on there is like you came into the group, guys were trying to get to know you. And so then you just kind of learn that from day one is like, that's how the group operates, right? Like every new guy you meet, you kind of, and I think something I was reminded of this morning, like there's never really like a hesitation to be like, what's your name, or remind me your name again, or we're really upfront about like asking, or just like trying to reintroduce to a guy you haven't seen in a while. And I think what's funny is I see sometimes it'll happen like to wait time, right? And like someone would be like, what's your name, man? And in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, how do you not know who wait time is? But his response to that is always just so genuine, and like he's not trying to be a big deal. He's not, he's always like, oh, I'm wait time, and just kind of moves on with it. And so getting in a headspace where you like just ask other guys questions, I think is really healthy. I struggle sometimes with ego, and like I would love every conversation to be about me all the time some days. So that's good advice for me to hear you say that.
You hit it on the head with the ego thing. Like, I just kind of set the ego aside, and I try to let if I want to be on a peak performance of the fitness level that day, I'll just let my workout do the talking, right?
Yeah.
And then that's why the pre stuff is so nice now too, because I'll come and maybe I'll do a full born Murph, pre-Murph, and then I'm pretty beat by the beat down. So I don't really mind hanging out with the 6 or talking more to the new guy, or so that's how I treat it. But
yeah. Hey, on that note, did you get a chance to do like IPC and some of that sort of stuff? What did you think of that workout?
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, it was good. I'm naturally competitive, I think. So it was the first, so I joined in June. So it was a few months in when I first was introduced to it. And I liked the first year. I checked my numbers and I was comparing myself, which is bad, and to be honest with you. But I worked out with a few hammers down in Sarpy, and it's fun. I did the second year, and now my body's probably telling me not to do it anymore.
Yeah, it's coming up, man. We'll do Murph Challenge, and then we'll have a month off or a few days off, and then right into that. What, when you think about some of those like more challenging workouts, what do you think is the benefit there? You notice any second F stuff in that space?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a fine line of fellowship and just like being irritated with somebody else during the workout, like in a good way, right? Like they're pushing you to become closer to you, if that makes sense. And you lead by example. Like I can think of it. It was an IPC workout day, and God, it was me, Fun Dip, Chernobyl, Double Dip. We're the only 4 guys there, and it was a coupon one. And it was just murder bunnies, blockies, and I was beat. My shoulders were dead, and they got done a few minutes before me, and they were just standing right by me at the end, just rooting me on, just trying to get me through that last minute. And so, I think there's something to say about the fellowship when it's a hard workout.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. For some reason, I feel like, some of it's like you do hard things with other guys, but like at some level you like beat the ego out of yourself. Right. And so then by the end of something like that just totally drains you, you're just kind of like, I got nothing left, I left it all out there. And now, some of the coffees after IPC are my favorite, but what, as you think about, the other second F piece, one of the things we like to kind of relate that to is like your concentrica, right? So relationships with your M, your 2.0s, maybe with mentors, shield lock, that sort of stuff. Tell us about maybe the impact that you feel like F3 has had on some of those key relationships in your life.
So let's see. Concentrica, my wife is my everything, right? And so are my kids. And oftentimes I think we push back and forth because we want each other to be happy. And she knows that a morning workout with my boys, it makes me happy and it starts my day.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell when it's kind of strenuous on her, as far as like she feels like she might be getting behind on some work things, or she didn't get a good night's sleep because of the baby, and that's where I just step up, right? And I just tell myself, like, I mean, you're the reason I do all this, like, to stay in shape and to look good for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I, if I didn't have her or my kids, I wouldn't have anything. And so I'll take a day off if I have to, right? But I think she knows that it's important to me, so she pushes me to get involved. And then as far as like the other fellowship and the shield lock, I don't know that I've like cordially been invited to a shield lock. I think it might have been KOA that had said like Sarpy County just like is kind of one big shield lock in a way. Like there's a lot of little pockets, and there's a few that kind of break out and do their own thing. But I do feel fortunate to where, like, depending on what I said earlier, like on my mood for that day or that week, I can really find that group of people or those two guys that I really want to be around for whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, my wife, like I said earlier, we'll run into people, and then if we have something come up at the house or financially or with our jobs, it's like, do you know somebody who does it? It's like, oh, let me find out, and I'll shoot something out on our mobile chatter, and within like minutes, I got like 5 recommendations of lawyers or doctors or so it's been an awesome relationship thing for me.
Yeah, we got a lot of lawyers. If you need legal counsel, this is definitely the group. I feel like I don't know why that is. It makes me think I should have gone to law school to be a lawyer. Maybe they have really good schedules, or I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. And they drink good bourbon from the looks of it on that chat. I don't feel like I belong in that chat sometimes. So
that's funny. What as you think about the shield lock piece, it's interesting, right? Because some guys might have, like a defined, these 4 guys are in my shield lock, and then other guys don't. But I think you hit on something really key there, is like you're a part of this sort of bigger, like the whole region or even smaller sectors are a shield lock in a sense, right? And there's always like, reach out to somebody, right? And invite and say, hey, I'm going to go do this. Do you want to go with me and pre-run or do whatever? What do you think it is like? And maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but what do you think it is in guys that like stop us from formalizing that sort of shield lock? Any thoughts there?
That would stop us in formalizing one? Maybe it's just some hesitation with I'm getting too involved. Like that. I mean, I think that's where my mind was. Like, I like coming to work out with you guys, and I can share a conversation. But what's the shield lock, and why is there a stronger relationship there? Like, I feel tight with the other guys too. So I don't know. Maybe it's, you don't want to become in like this little pocket of your own group in a sense, so maybe that's the hesitation.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I think, and maybe it's different for different guys. I think for me, it's, I don't want to be overly committed to, a small group, but I also recognize the benefit of that. And, so it's kind of, so I do a little bit of both, right? I've got a shield lock, but then I'm also trying to just build relationships, because there's, it's crazy that the number of guys that you beat in F3 that are all just these high caliber, high quality men that you can learn something from, so it's just like, you don't want to limit yourself in that regard, I suppose too, but
it's almost like it's sounds like you're dating, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be locked down. You don't want to be locked down by just a few guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody early on, I think it was maybe Betamax, his M would joke, and they referred to their shield lock as like sister wives or something. I think it was kind of a funny term they used. But
Hey, Gloom listeners, it's the Plague. Question for you. Are you ready to perform at your peak? Well, our man Pea Soup and the Apex Men's Clinic is here to help you achieve optimal health. Whether it's managing general health concerns, recovering from injuries, or optimizing your hormones, they have you covered. Their comprehensive services include testosterone replacement therapy, cutting-edge treatments, and personalized care plans tailored just for you. At Apex Men's Clinic, you're not just another number. Their expert team is dedicated to helping you feel your best. Visit apexmensclinic.com today to schedule a free consultation. At Apex Men's Clinic, it's men's health done right.
what as you think about, and remind me how many kids you have?
I have three.
Three kids.
7, 5, and 2.
Okay, and have they been to workouts at all? You brought them out yet?
Yeah. I brought my 2 oldest out. Yeah.
And do you have mixed boys and girls, or?
Yeah, Mason's my oldest. He's 7, and his name is Sweet Tooth.
Nice.
And which is great because I got a crazy sweet tooth too, and he got that name because he had to get a cap, so he's got this silver cap.
Nice.
Right here because he's like his dad. He's got bad enamel. Like if I were to show you my mouth, I'd have cavity fillings all over the place.
Right.
And my daughter, she came out on a cold Halloween beatdown. She wasn't having it. Mm-hmm. She was like holding me, and I think she was 4 at the time. And but we had donuts and stuff after, so she had fun. And her name's Ariel because she likes the Little Mermaid.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
What do your kids think of it, or maybe they don't fully understand why Dad goes to these crazy workouts in the morning?
I think it's normal for them. Like they just expect me to, if they wake up early and I'm not home, they know that I'm gonna be home shortly, and I'll be stinky, and they'll give me a big wet hug, and they think I'm the strongest person ever. Yeah. You know, they want me to wrestle them and crawl around with them, and that's partly why I do what I do, right? When I'm bear crawling in the gloom, a bear crawl at home is nothing when you got 2 kids on your back. It's like, I just did this all morning. Yeah.
I always think of the rainy workouts, and we're out there, running around in the mud and in the rain. And then, when it's raining, you tell your kids like, well, we can't go outside because it's, it's rainy and muddy. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Double standard. I was just out there.
Yeah, exactly.
What, I love, just trying to get the 2.0s involved. Do you think about, like you said, just being able to be more mobile and play with them, but also just letting them kind of see, hey, Dad's committed to being better. And, I'm curious, you kind of mentioned earlier some of the faith piece, but what's been your journey from a third F perspective?
So I grew up Catholic. I went to St. Gerald's Elementary School, which is right over in Ralston. My mom was a teacher there, and so my older brother and I, we went 1st through 6th grade, kindergarten through 6th grade there, and it was normal for me, right? We would learn all the prayers, and we'd go to church 3 times a week, and we wore uniforms, the whole 9 yards with the Catholic school. And then once I got to middle school, we decided to go to public schools, and I want to say it was because of financial reasons. My initial thought from that was like, my life is over. Like I'm going to lose all my friends. Now I have to go make new friends. And luckily, when I was transitioning from 6th to 7th grade, I met a few public school guys, and had a great high school experience right at Ralston. But I would say that we would go to church regularly every Sunday, so that got cut back. And then when I I'd say when I graduated high school, went into college, drifted off a little bit. I didn't go as much. And then definitely when I moved around after college, I got a job and I moved around the country a little bit. Found a couple churches here and there, but I never went, right? And but then when my wife and I got married, we started getting our relationship back into the church life. And she was Catholic as well, so we got married in the Catholic Church. But then we did like a more fun wedding, I'll call it. Like we did an outdoor winery thing with all of our family and friends on a Friday afternoon. And I don't know if it was the wedding that kind of threw us off, but like there were so many rules with how we were supposed to get married. And so after that, we actually started going to a Lutheran church out in Elkhorn. We went to Bethany Lutheran.
Oh, yeah.
And absolutely loved it. And everything about it. Pastor John was so relatable for us. And her mom went through a divorce shortly after the wedding. And I think that, she was a very Catholic person. And so she felt, and we kind of saw this from a third person, right? What looking in. But she struggled a lot because of you don't get divorced in the Catholic Church. That was the mindset for her. So she also switched to the Lutheran Church. And so we've been growing our faith through there and with her since then. And we still venture out to Elkhorn, right? We live in Papillion, and we'll still drive 25 minutes for Sunday service.
Yeah, that's awesome. We got my 2-year-old's going to do pre-K over there starting this fall. So it's
a great youth program.
Yeah, it's a nice spot. We it's interesting, right? Like you think that story, right? Of like, grew up going to church, kind of drifted away, and then sort of that like next chapter is where like it pivots, right? For guys, like some guys you'll hear like what you said, right? We went back because we got married, or some guys maybe haven't gone back. And just kind of curious your thoughts, like how did you go about that sort of journey or search, or was it much of a search? Was it pretty intuitive, straightforward, or how did you process that just through those different phases of life?
I always felt like I had a relationship with God, like no matter where I went to church or what religion I necessarily declared. And I think my parents have been supportive of anything that we've done in our life. And my dad, it just comes to mind. He always says that God is good orderly direction. And so whatever direction we decided to go in our life, he would support that as long as we had good orderly direction. And I've kind of thought about that a lot. Like, sure, we don't go to the Catholic Church anymore, but we still have a very strong relationship with God, and we do believe. And there's a lot of guys in F3. We almost are like part of the St. Columcille Church in a sense. We did the youth sports through them because of Baby Shark and how involved he is there. And I mean, they throw a lot of good prayers out there, like I love it when you can get a good swiper sermon at the end of the beatdown. And Girl Dad is another good one. He can throw out a great prayer at the end. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't have anything against like the Catholic Church, right? I mean, I grew up doing the Catholic thing, and I don't have any negativity towards like my journey in that. And I don't think that we're against going to a Catholic church. We still go. We've gone to St. Columcille a few times, and we just feel like it's nice at the Lutheran church where it sounds stupid, but I can drink coffee in church.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can have a donut and not worry about having communion after that, shortly after. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know, sort of as you're talking, sharing your story, I kind of hear this thread of like you're a competitive guy, you're obviously, achiever, high performer, but you've also developed this ability to separate your ego, or kind of like, get your ego out of the way. I don't know if you would agree or if you recognize that, but any insight, like how do we do that? Because to me, what I think a lot of people get sort of quote unquote burned by the church, and some of that, in my opinion, is likely ego, right? Like if you're so burned by something, you're going to separate yourself from God. There may be some ego involved, just my opinion, but I don't know. I see you as somebody that's really kind of figured out how to, like, you can still be competitive, but not let your ego get in the way. But I don't know. Maybe I'm off base there. But what are your thoughts?
I think what you're explaining is my strong empathy for others. It's one of my strengths. I feel for other people. I like to get to know people. And I mean, even growing up, when I would beat somebody in a competition, I'd always feel a little bit bad for the guy who lost. And I don't know if that's an ego thing. Like I could hate someone during a competition, but at the end of it, I'm very grateful for them, right? And yeah, I mean, shoot, one guy that comes to mind is Corver. Like I competed against him in summer basketball camps, and I couldn't tell you how pissed off I was because he was so damn good, and I was not.
Yeah.
And he had a great basketball career, and then I stumbled across him in F3, and it's like, God, you look oddly familiar, and the ego is just set aside. It's like, dude, we're both out here. We look a little different now than we did in high school, and let's just get better together,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's fun.
That's really cool. I don't know. It's interesting. I think just that, like, being grateful for the other person, just that they're there, right? And you get to interact with them. And that's such a cool perspective to look at things through, that I think is, I know, at least for myself, it's hard to live in that space. Like I have to really do a lot of internal self-talk to get to that place. That's not normally how I show up, but I love it.
It's funny, like, because I'm not a fighter, right? Like I have a very kind heart, and I hated wrestling, A, because I sucked at it, and B, because it was one-on-one.
Yeah.
And I always hated that guilt I had about beating someone else, whether beating them up on a mat or just making them look bad in front of their family and friends. Like, so that's why I was probably more compelled to like team sports, and then track. There was nothing personal in track. I'm faster than the other guys. So
yeah, right. Well, no, I love it. I just to kind of drop a resource for guys. I was listening to so Stutz is a psychiatrist, I believe. There's a Netflix documentary. Anyway, long story short, he's got a book out there essentially that talks about this idea of, your ego creates envy, and a lot of times envy causes you to do or think maybe bad things, but the antidote to that envy is love towards yourself, love towards others. So just see that in you, man. And it's just super cool. Well, talk us through, a little bit. So you've got this really cool kind of progression through the fitness fellowship and faith. At what point did you, like, do you remember your, you think about reinvigorating male community leadership, right? So your VQ would maybe be one example of a leadership opportunity. And then obviously taking over at Mount Olympus. Talk us through those experiences. I'm assuming your VQ was a coupon workout, right?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, okay. Tell us about it.
No. Gosh, the VQ. So I felt like when I jumped both feet in, right, from the beginning, and I was, I kind of asked around, like, hey, how soon can I start leading? Like, can I lead a workout? And I want to say it was, oh God, I can't remember. But somebody said like, you're only a couple months in. Like, you got to wait at least like 4 or 5 months.
Tone it down.
Yeah, easy. And then somebody said, Swiper is the only one who's ever done a VQ within his first 3 months or something like that. And so I was like, well, I could do better than Swiper, whatever.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I one of the guys I was attracted to, not physical, obviously, but he would laugh, Shroot, because he touches me inappropriately in the gloom.
Yeah.
Shroot,
I've heard that by other guys too. By the way, you're not the first one to comment on Shroot's inappropriate.
Yeah, we should probably. Where's the HR at F3? So he and I we kicked it off, and I was actually the farm was a potential site for me to take as well, and I was just like, I want to lead a workout, and he's like, you want to lead one here? And I'm like, that'd be awesome. Like, I love you, dude. Like, let's do it. And God, the VQ, I remember Khakis was so mad because I had the wrong rotation down. And he'd mumble like, we should be doing this way, and it's like I screwed up, and I was thinking that I screwed up the whole time, but it was fun. Shrew actually bought like 50 G strings.
Oh, no way.
for the beatdown, and guys were rocking them on their head and over their shorts.
That's funny.
And it was funny, but yeah, we just did some stuff on Main Street there, and yeah, I think it went okay. But I remember like listening. I like wrote down the intro like on my phone, and I would like read it over and over to myself like weeks in advance, just so I was like, I can't mess this up. But now it's a walk in the park.
For sure.
I can say it. Yeah.
Well, talk us through taking over a site, because it sounds like you maybe had a couple different guys that had reached out or talked to you about it. How did you land on Mount Olympus?
So yeah, it was, and I'm not trying to like brag, but yeah, the farm, Shrew had asked me, and Baby Shark thought it would be cool if I took Sandlot, and not trying to take anything from the guys who ended up taking those flags, but Fun Dip was like, he would just ask like, have you ever thought about running a site? And Mount Olympus, I was always just attracted to it because the unique, spin on the coupons. It's the only one around the area. I was there for the site launch on my second day, and Fun Dip is like, he's like my brother, right? Like, he called me just this morning, like on his way home, just to like, I don't know, say hi. And I was like, okay, he always makes fun of me because I always have eggs and bacon and toast for breakfast. And he's like, oh, how do you have time for that? It's like, I make time, man. It's like a priority of mine. But yeah, I'd say taking over Mount Olympus was a no-brainer for me. I tell people that I feel like that site was created for me, and then I wanted my own spin on it. So I did the Shield, the Shield of Ares, and I think I'm saying that wrong or right. If not, I've said it wrong for a whole year. But yeah, he's the god of war, and Mount Olympus being a god theme, I thought it would be cool to pass the shield around to guys who are going through battles. They're coming to the war, they're excelling, and we have guys sign the back, and so we always had record of who had it, and yeah, so that was my twist on the site.
That's really cool.
And it was fun to see. Yeah.
Is it running out of room after a year of guys signing the back?
It's done. I think it's passed. And we were joking. Ogre got it on the last week, and I don't know where it's at right now. Like, he might have it still. He didn't post the next week, so I texted him. I was like, you still have the shield.
Yeah, he's got to keep the tradition going. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, you shouldn't have given it to me. Now it's going to end up somewhere else. So,
Oh, it's awesome. I love it. Well, and you know, I think that happens fairly often, right? Where we see a guy accelerating and you have maybe a couple different guys asking you, you know, and I think it's cool that you had opportunity to kind of pick or choose which site you wanted. And we have, I think that's one of the good problems we have, right? Is we have so many guys that are great leaders. And so I think I was just talking to somebody this morning to Slow Pitch actually. And it's like, you would think at some point we have to start recycling site queues or having, you know, guys who've led a site take on another one. But it just hasn't happened. Like in 6 years, we just keep getting more and more guys that are either they develop into leaders or they new guys come and you know, are ready to lead, which is phenomenal. But
yeah.
tell us about the year as a site Q. What was that like? What were your experiences? And would also be curious if you have any advice that you would share with other guys that are leading a site.
Um, I took a lot of pride in having that flag, and um, I think the site was one thing, but just kind of being a site Q in general, having the flag, being able to carry it around and plant it, just to signify like this is where we're at as a group this morning. You kind of just feel badass, you
Yeah.
know, um, and I think that having the flag, I mentioned this when I passed it. It was I worked it. It allowed me to be more confident in myself, and then also be more humble for the fact that I need I need the packs to be there, right? Like I don't have all the answers as a site Q, but I can find someone who does,
Mm-hmm.
and we can get through whatever it might be together. And so I don't. I want to say I led maybe one beat down throughout the year, but I was always pushing other people to lead the site or to lead the workouts. Um, and just seeing VQs, I think I had maybe three,
Nice.
but I think the VQs was just not for a coupon site.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. A little bit harder of a workout to put together for your first one.
Yeah, yeah, but I had we had a good round. Like I think I don't remember if it was you that was telling me that Oompa had like 52 different Qs the whole year.
Oh, did it? Yeah, I
And
could see that.
um, and I was thinking about my numbers, and I was like, I bet I was up there too. Like if I think about it, so I never thought about it that way, and I didn't track any numbers other than who's getting the shield.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that's maybe one thing I kind of regretted as a site Q, just like being able to take more photos and document some things about um, numbers and how many people we had and how many F and Gs we had, and
Yeah.
I was just kind of scattered. And then I felt like 3 months in, it was like, it's too late to establish anything at this point.
Yeah. Were you using the attendance form? Did you submit your data?
Of course,
Huh?
I did.
Okay. I'll after this I'll send you a graph with the numbers. I can
Oh, you had those numbers.
I've
Okay.
got the numbers, yeah. And we're, you know, I think sector queues and Tater have access, and we're trying to figure out how to get them into PaxNet so you could just see them on the
Oh,
AO profile eventually. But yeah, I'll send you a snapshot. It'd be good for you to have
oh.
the data, look at F and Gs and all that.
And then it's going to be like, oh, it's really not that good. I thought it would be a lot better.
Well, no, I love it, and I think I appreciate just the fact that you care, right, and taking pride in having that flag. And I remember early on, right, we only had one flag, and so it really was sort of this honor to be like, you know, wait time would be like, hey, do you want to bring the flag to the workout tomorrow? Right? 'Cause it's like there was only one, and you were sort of like, oh my gosh, I have to show up, you know, because I've got the flag. You know, but and even just as simple as like you're saying, like get other guys to queue. You know, I think in the early days at Paradise Island, I think I queued more than 50% of the workouts there because I didn't fully understand like, oh yeah, the point of this is to get all these other guys to queue. But now that we've had site queues like yourself and Oompa and many others that have focused so much on like creating those opportunities, I think some of that spurs the growth, right, that we've experienced, which is super cool to see. What talk us through succession planning and kind of your process and approach there.
So I'll be honest, I struggled to think about who could take the flag, and I don't know if it's because like I just had this mindset of it came from Fun Dip, who's just this like beast, right? Awesome dude, and then me, who I tried my best to be that same form of a man as a site Q. I was like, I'm not sure who I can give it to. Like I've had such high standards,
Right.
and I asked a few guys, and they weren't interested, and not trying to take anything away from Jackson 5, but I was like, man, the consistency of the site, because people will come to the site and get a good coupon workout in, and then we won't see them for 5 weeks. And I guess that was my struggle, is I needed somebody who was willing to accept, I'm going to have at least 52 weekly coupon workouts here. And so Jackson 5 came along, and I was like, I mean, this guy is like, I'm sure you've seen him, but he's not a big guy. Right. Like he's maybe 160 pounds, right? But that guy can throw a coupon around, and he can hang with the best of them. And I was intrigued by that because I wanted someone who could lead in a good fitness level, right, and be a good example. But the thing about Jackson 5 is that he cares a lot about the people around him. And it's very apparent because he's similar to me, where he'll ask questions and just kind of keep digging at you. And he's a quieter person, but when you start talking to him, he'll open up, and he'll give you some great advice. And we connected a few times on some pre-runs, and it was a special pre-run morning. It was Fun Dip, myself, and Jackson 5, and we kind of threw it out there, like, you know, Fun Dip and I've been thinking about you as a site Q. And unlike everybody else, he was like, yes, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, that's
yes. Cool. But I'm going on a fishing trip in June. And so he checked, and he was leaving the day of the flag pass that we planned. And so he was like, we can make it work. And I'm like, all right, by the way, look at the year in advance before you commit, because if you get a bunch of holidays, like, you might think twice about this. And he's like, no, I got it. And then we looked, and it's like Christmas is on a Wednesday this year. So bad for
Christmas and New Year's, and oh man, I love it.
No, he's a good dude, and I'm excited for what he's gonna bring.
That's awesome. Well, I love it, and I think, and he's Pitchfork's twin brother, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's kind of cool.
So he just took a site too, so it was good timing for both of them.
That's awesome. Well, tell us, you know, I guess I'm curious, you know, anything as you just think back, you know, over the last couple of years and your journey, anything that maybe we didn't get to cover, or things that you would want to share, or that you really would want guys to know or kind of take away from your experience?
I would say my thought on leaning in, don't be hesitant to do that. And I still struggle with talking about, like, I don't very many people. It's just, I don't know if it's like a selfish thing, but like this F3 thing is like mine. Like I've found it and I like it, and I've got some friends that I'll bring it up to, but they just aren't interested. And then I kind of like, okay, well, maybe it's just not for everyone, right? But I think Tater told me best on a pre-run, because I was going through some struggles with explaining F3 to my friends, and they were judging me and they think it's stupid and blah blah blah. And he was like, you know what? Sometimes those are the guys who need it the most, and they'll come around. And it's not about us. It's a matter of time until they figure it out. And so I think that for advice, I just wouldn't be shy to lean in and help, or lean in and ask for help from guys, whether it's a marriage problem or a work problem. Our family tree is huge at this point, and so it's like there's always somebody that has experienced what you're going through or has some good advice.
Heck yeah, that's perfect. What about just, where you're at currently? Anything you need prayers for, or encouragement if we see out there, something we could ask you or check in with you on? The foot, maybe.
I was gonna say I have a hard time saying no to these darn challenges, and I'd say maybe just pray for the fact that it's okay for me to like take a break. I tell myself like, oh, I don't need to post every day. Like I can take a day off and sleep in, but then my mind just goes to, no, there's no days off, get out there. So I don't know, maybe just pray for some personal strength in that matter. And then I mentioned earlier, I struggle with comparing myself to others, and not necessarily just F3 dudes, but in the workplace, knowing where I might fit in my career progression. If I'm behind from other people that I should be higher at my age group, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's probably what you were alluding to earlier. I was going through some work struggles. I'm still going through those work struggles. Like I don't know if I'm doing what I'm called to do sometimes, and sometimes I wish that I could just get paid from going to F3 every morning.
Yeah,
stuff.
You and me both, brother. Yeah. Well, I'll be praying for you on that, and I'll definitely be checking in. I think what I'm learning a little bit in that space is, wherever you are currently is where you're supposed to be, and then ultimately, God or SkyQ. I would love for him to just tell me this is the job at the company that you're supposed to have and apply for, and all of that. And I don't know that he gets that specific, right? He just tells us to do whatever we do in the name of the Lord, right? So then I think we have a lot of freedom, but then it doesn't make the decisions any easier, right? So I think it's a lifelong struggle. I'm right there with you. So yeah. Well, man, this has been great. And I think, you're not the first guy that kind of started off with like, I don't know that I'll have a ton to share. And so just want to affirm you that this has been great. And I've learned a lot.
Thanks.
Just spending the time with you. Definitely a lot that I know other guys will identify with. So appreciate your time. Let's do a little name-orama here to wrap us up. Brandon Flehardy, 38, The Plague.
The Plague. Great Hastings, 36. G-string,
snap. I think that's one of my favorite call signs for sure. Is this?
Yeah. The guys love it. It's just snapping the string.
Yeah. Appreciate you, man. Have a good day.
Yep. You too.